So the what, or the topic is open-mindedness. The why is happiness. And the how is searching or seeking, right? So that's a topic that we talk about here a lot, seeking higher pleasure. So in regards to higher pleasure, finding higher pleasure, or you can even say spiritual pleasure or spiritual path, finding a spiritual path, something like that. Or let's say you're not even spiritual, you can just say I'm an atheist. So okay, what about searching for higher pleasure? All right, so why is open-mindedness good in searching
You can't learn nothing
for on a spiritual path? He said you can't learn anything.
Being
What was it?
narrow-minded.
If you're not open-minded, you can't learn anything. Okay. What else we got out there? Come on, anyone is
There's more possibilities, more potential.
good. Potential possibilities. Can you think of anything else?
You're limited only by your mind. You're limited by your mind, actually.
In which way?
In that you believe so much in it. You're closed-minded because you just believe in the mind.
Because you're just like stuck on one thing.
Right. Well, you fully believe in your own ability to think, and you believe you know the absolute. So you don't think you need, you believe in your own mind.
So it's pretty vital. It's pretty important.
I'd say it's the most important.
All right. Anything else? Any different angles? Go
I'd
ahead.
say if you were searching for something, then you would obviously not be content with what's going on. So that's why you would look around and be open-minded.
That's a good perspective. That's an interesting
Because
perspective.
obviously you're not content. So
That could
searching,
be. It could be a symbol of discontent.
not
Okay, so that's more of a negative, right?
What's that?
A negative of open-mindedness.
No. You said if someone is searching, why would open-mindedness be alright? But if they were content, they wouldn't be searching.
So therefore, they would be open-minded.
If they
I'm
were
not seeing how it
content-
relates.
If they were content spiritually,
Yeah.
and like boom, had no questions, then they wouldn't be searching.
Then they wouldn't be searching in the
Like
first
God
place.
was like the big
Okay.
brother, and they're like, "Yeah, what's up, buddy?" You know, and like you knew him all his life, and you wouldn't be searching.
Alright.
Or Krishna.
So any other reasons why open-mindedness would be good, like on a spiritual path or a path to high pleasure? Anything else? Did we sum it up? Okay. So what about, is there any bad thing that open-mindedness? Is there any way that open-mindedness could be not helpful?
Well, you could be on
Can
a
we
rabbit
think of any reason at all?
trail and there won't be no rabbit.
What is it?
You could be on a rabbit trail and there won't be no rabbit.
Okay. I think I get what he's saying. But,
You may try too many things and you cannot be focused at something particular.
okay, so you're not focused because you're trying many things. So in
Yeah.
that way, it's kind of a little different interpretation since open-mindedness becomes kind of, that's kind of what I thought you were saying was open-mindedness becomes like a symptom of restlessness, kind of you're saying like that.
Well, no,
Anyways, I misunderstood, so now.
You understand now
Go
what I was
ahead.
saying?
Well,
yeah,
when you're
focus.
when you're open-minded, you try a lot of things and a lot of experience. So
Right,
you sometimes it's difficult to choose
right.
to what practice or path you want to stick to.
Well, you
Okay,
know it's
so we
good
can-
for your soul.
Anything else? Any other reason? You and then, go ahead. Sorry.
You make yourself open to maybe harmful things. If you're open to
Okay, so you're too open-minded. So like, had one friend, he said, yeah, it's like open-minded is good, but if you're too open-minded, then like your brains will fall out or something. It's like if you're too open-minded, then you could be susceptible to bad things too. If you're like too open, right? So you shouldn't, because everyone likes to be open-minded. Of course, that's part of being, like a socially responsible, caring person. But then there's, if like kind of what you're saying, exactly what you're saying. So anything else before I have one example, and I'll try to. It's getting a little mysterious, but I'll try to clear up my point. Go ahead.
Just like we don't need anything out of the garbage without discrimination, we shouldn't just put anything into our
Right. Everyone has limits. That's what I was going to allude to. Everyone has some limit. It's like, okay, I'm liberal, but you know, it's like you can't give everyone every right that they want, right? So one visual that I can give you is a place close to where I grew up in Nevada. There's a landowner, and he owned a lot of land, just like desert. But a lot of these landowners, they buy this land because they're looking to strike gold, right? So this guy, he bought all this land and he wanted to find gold. But he looked, and he didn't have that much knowledge, but he knew something what to look for, but he couldn't find it. This is a true story. So he sold the land because he thought it was pointless. There's no gold here. But one guy came, and he had a little more knowledge, but he also had a little more patience. So he actually was able to detect where a gold vein could be. And he took the time to like dig it up, right? And so he took time to go into the depth of it, right? And then he found that it was gold, very valuable. So he bought it for like pennies. Like the guy was just like trying to get rid of it to anyone. I don't even know how cheap it was, but it was extremely cheap. And then as soon as he bought the land, then he sold it to another company for a higher, and he became like super rich millionaire. So this is something I was reflecting on, that in no way am I promoting unopen-mindedness here. You have to be open-minded just to be civilized.
Yeah.
But a lot of the open-mindedness can be associated with a lot of groups, civil liberties groups and things like that. Like when I was younger, I consider myself a hippie, you could say. Not just because I had dreadlocks, I did have dreadlocks. All the way down to here when I first showed up at the temple, and I was like, oh my God, what do we do with this guy? But I was like, it's like, he's a hippie, you know, and I was like, I'm not a hippie, but I was a hippie. And I'll tell you why. Not because it was some label that it was like, I think I'll choose this label. You know, the whole idea was like, I didn't want any label. But if you look into like history of hippieism, then they say hippie is one who's hip. He has a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things. And so there's many such groups. We can kind of see where that can get a little out of hand. And first thing I think of is like the New Age movement. There's a lot of truths that are being investigated, like what about Atlantis? What about the Lemurian crystals? What about the galactic center? You know, what did this, you know, and you're collecting knowledge from all of these different like world philosophies. And that's kind of what, you know, New Age philosophy kind of is. It's like, you know, it's this concept that you just take a bunch from whatever's there, whatever truth's there, and then you got to make your own. Why do you got to do that? Why do you have to make your own path? Because it's limiting to follow one particular, like, spiritual tradition, for example. You would be limited, and to a large degree, that's true. In many ways, you are limited. But here is the exact way that you're at a disadvantage. In other words, if you're too busy studying what's out there, and this is a perfect analogy, a roadmap. Let's say you're collecting roadmaps, and let's say all of the roads go to the same place, and you're too busy studying what roadmaps, and you're collecting them all. You're just collecting roadmaps. And you're like, look, this is a cool roadmap, you know, this is a cool one from India, this is a cool one from here, this is a cool one from California, whatever. And it's like, oh, these are really nice maps. Have you actually like used them or like been to any of them? Like, no, I don't need to, you know. I just collect them. So that could be sometimes the disadvantage is if we think of ourselves in other words, if we're open-minded for the sake of being open-minded, not for the sake of searching for truth. If you're searching for truth and you're open-minded, that's good. You need to be. Like you said, potential, opportunity, you know. But if you are open-minded for the sake of being open-minded, you'll get stuck on the surface level of things. You'll be like, I know this philosophy, I know that philosophy, I took a little bit from this philosophy, and the only way I can have a fulfilling experience is if I take a little bit from each and have my own experience, because we have this need, and it's a true need, to make things our own. We don't want to just be some mindless follower of some religious ritual or something, you know. We want identification. So in my personal journey, I I was very satisfied by studying many different traditions, like learning something about the world, and I still do that, and I still think that everyone should do that. But when I got into the depth of one thing, just anything, as soon as you get into depth, then that is when I not found just excitement, but I found fulfillment. So in other words, you have to also, in your search for being open-minded, in the niceness of being generous in your philosophy, like considering other points of view, you also eventually have to take one of those roadmaps. You eventually will have to take one of those roadmaps to that final destination. And why is it like that? Well, they're different paths, they're like different vehicles, you know, and they function in a certain way. So, in other words, that's what I'm saying is the depth. There's the difference between the depth, and that's what they say expert is. That you're expert if you know a little bit of everything, and you know a lot of one thing. So you find a lot of fulfillment when you have like experience in one particular field, you know. So you're always going to have more depth the more, like you have a friend, same thing. You have more intimacy, more time with them. The depth of the relationship is more satisfying. So we have to be open-minded, but we also have to be open-minded in the depth of it. Different traditions, like really studying, looking down into things. Yeah. So, okay. Those are my reflections, my thoughts.